Today I want to establish a working definition and maybe even redefine what it means to be a man, particularly a family man. You know, pop culture has its weak definitions and plenty of mockery, and mediocrity, interestingly, has its own weak definitions. But I want to state emphatically that just because it's common, meaning average, mediocre, just because it's common doesn't mean that that's the way it is or has to be. And then other men with really good intentions have tried to establish definitions, but in a lack of education or experience, come up short. Now, I'm not saying that I know it all and that as a whole I'm right and they're wrong. In a few instances, I will be so bold to say that, yeah, in that, I think they're wrong. And I'm not saying that I have all the answers. And I hope, honestly, that this will become a discussion where you'll chime in the comments here, chime in the discussions on social media, in Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, and chime in the conversation, and even in the great conversation, or what's been called the great debate, right? It's this conversation that's been going on for decades, for centuries, really, even millennia, of like what it is, what it means to be a great person, but in this case, a great man and a family man in particular. Because family, you guys know this, it's the core of society. It is the fundamental building block of civilization and society, especially the ones that really work and last. And we got to care about family. There's ample amounts of research and evidence out there that what happens when we neglect families to us individually, and the lack of understanding and meaning and fulfillment, but also and as a family and then as a whole, as a society. But there's more to it too. If we don't, we could do it, right? You guys, we could go through the motions of being a man, of being a family man. We could check the boxes. But that most often leads to misery, right? And a lack of fulfillment and suffering and blah. It's just this lame existence instead of really, truly living. So together, because none of us is as smart as all of us, let's start with a working definition. And I say working because it has to be something that's evolving and growing, that we're adding to it continually. We have experiences, we have insights, we have conversations, we read books, listen to podcasts, watch videos, and think, that's powerful. That's significant. That means something to me. And it'll spark out at different times to different people and during different periods of your life, where a principle or a practice, something significant will stand out to you, and you're like, that has to be a part of my life. And that's honestly is literally why I created what I call my philosophy journal. Here's mine right here, this leather journal. It's my philosophy journals, where I capture the best ideas, the best quotes, the best insights. This isn't a journal as most normal journals are, where I'm documenting things that have happened or whatever. This only has the core pieces of my philosophy of how I want to live and be as a man, particularly as a man with family, right? And you know, it's been my experience. Again, what I'm sharing here is the things that are working. I've been studying this stuff voraciously for well over 2 decades. I've been teaching it, coaching, mentoring, speaking, training, literally across 5 continents with thousands and thousands of men, and just had my finger on the pulse of this for a long time. And it just works. And it doesn't just work in my situation. I'm not trying to make principles out of my own experiences, but it's applicable for so many men. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for these common denominators that we can all add together and say, okay, this is happening. And I'm not, please don't misunderstand me here. I'm not boasting or bragging, but it's it's rare, it's extremely rare that I meet men who have read more than I've read or traveled more than I traveled. That's a rare experience. And man, I love meeting with guys like that. And that doesn't mean that reading and travel are the only ways to get insights. That's not true at all. There's so many ways to learn and grow. I guess the invitation here is I want you to be thoughtful, and let's all be thoughtful together, and let's come up with this definition so that we can lean into and become real men. And today I want to emphasize this word formidable. I love it. I realize that for some people it has a negative connotation, right? And it can be like you're not approachable, or you're intimidating, or it can have a negative aspect. But here's some awesome definitions that I want to share as we work through this. And for me, my working definition for myself is I want to be a formidable family man. Instead of, like, if you were to picture the iconic family man, the one who's being made fun of, right? He's on the receiving end of the mockery from anywhere from cartoons to movies to songs to whatever, right? They see that guy as weak and they despise him. Picture that guy in your head, right? And yes, he's become soft and he's unhealthy, and he's just, he's weak and he's not really living anymore, kind of handed over his man card for family, and he's just kind of going along through motions. And it's easy to slip into that, right? It's easy to let those things go. And for me, and my invitation for you, spend some time thinking about this and even writing about it. Write it down, man. Grab your journal, grab some notebooks, open a document, open the notes on your phone, and really capture this. Like, can you describe it? Could you write it down? Can you articulate it? Can you see it? Can you see yourself as this man, as your best self, but not the guy that becomes weaker or worse, but actually gets better. He gains wisdom and strength, and he becomes a better man, a better leader, and a better businessman, better husband, better father, better in a community, a greater influence and insight. It's all of that. So let's dive into formidable here. I love this word. It's such an awesome word. So here are a couple meanings that I found from, I checked into multiple dictionaries and then references online. So here's some of the ones I like. And this came from one particular dictionary right out of the gates. Number one, very powerful or strong, deserving serious attention and respect. Whoa, I love that one. And it's not that we're going out seeking attention, but that you deserve it, you earn it, right? This is one of the things I went through. I created a 7-day Be the Family Man course, and they all start with A, so it's the 7 A's, and one of the A's is authority. But it's not the kind of authority we usually think of. It's the authority that we get from earning it. And that kind of authority can only be earned. It can't be given. You can't get it from a title or a position. It can only be earned. And this is what I see here in this definition, this first definition: deserving serious attention and respect. I asked my son, he's turning 18, and I asked him one day, we were having a conversation, and I said, what is formidable to you? And we were just having this great conversation with my kids and with some others, and he said, a formidable man is someone who is dangerous enough to care about. And dangerous in a good context, and I'll expound on that further in other episodes. I'm really going to go into that because I love that word. There's a positive connotation of being a dangerous man. In fact, you even have it right here: be dangerous, right? There's this, and for those of you just listening, I'm doing a video as well, so it's on my hat. I have this hat that says "Be dangerous," and it's the same idea of this positive definition of being dangerous, but dangerous enough that you have to pay attention to them. You have to care about it, right? You can't just dismiss it. And so they deserve, and even sometimes demand, serious attention and respect. And that can be done in so many ways, right? So if I were to ask you, who are the men that you know that they deserve attention and respect, serious attention and respect? Who are the men you know that demand it? Not in that they come up and tell you to do it, but their very being requires it. The way they carry themselves, what they accomplish. And it can come from a physical presence, and even their appearance. It can come from intellect and from character. Some men have this powerful spirit about them, this energy that demands and deserves serious attention and respect. And it might be the quality of their relationships. It might be the quality of their experiences. It might be the quality of their achievements. And as you think about the whole man and his whole life and what he's doing and who he's becoming and what he's accomplishing, what his priorities are, where his focus is, that deserves serious attention and respect. And literally, mostly I want to talk about and emphasize for your consideration, it's mostly who he is as a man. In Parker Palmer's excellent book called The Courage to Teach, he emphasizes the principle that you can't not, I know that's a double negative there, you can't not teach who you are. So whatever your subject matter, whatever you're teaching, you still always teach who you are. Your being comes out in every subject, from chemistry to physical ed to like whatever. It doesn't matter. Whether it's history or biology, it comes out. And it comes through you, and it can't not. You teach who you are. And the same is true as you carry yourself. And so the invitation right out the gates here is to say, well, what reputation are you establishing? What image are you establishing for others? Right? Are you contributing to the mockery and this iconic lower level kind of definition of what it is? Have you used your marriage or your children or family life as an excuse, as a cop-out for being a man? And we can't even answer that question unless we have the working definition of what it means to be a man. And so we start there, because there might be some conflict in your head of, there's a lot of mistaken definitions out there and misalignment where you think, I know some guys will say, being a man, like you can't have a family and be a man according to their definition, right? But we're trying to rework that whole thing, and this is worth discussing and debating and thinking about, because it's actually in the public platform now in a major way. There's a lot of misandry, there's a lot of man-hating and this whole idea of toxic masculinity, and there's a lot going on in across all society. And we'll talk about these things and interview people and go through this as we go through this whole podcast journey together. And it's important that we participate in it. First, by thinking about it, giving it time and attention it deserves, then by writing about it and articulating our ideas, and then sharing those ideas, and then participating in discussions and debates. We have to get involved, and we have to help the working definition, not hurt it. Some of you are hurting it, right? You are. You're going along, and maybe it's not intentional. Maybe it's unconscious or unintended, but you're not helping. And you have to own that and the example you're setting for others. I often think about that, gentlemen. How my example will influence the decisions that other people make, particularly younger people. If they look at my life, and this happens because it happened to you and me, and it happens all the time, people will look and they'll make observations and judgments and then often make decisions. If they look at you and think, oh man, if that's what it's like to be a family man, I'm out. That's an interesting idea. And I think we have to take responsibility for the influence we have, for the example we're setting, for the reputation we establish, and honestly, the definition we establish for ourselves and for others by our behavior. Whoa. There's a lot to chew on here, and I want you to chew on it. I really want you to give this the time and attention it deserves. Let's keep going with these definitions. The second one is very difficult to deal with. Now that's right. That has a negative connotation. Like, man, I don't want to be the guy who's difficult to deal with. But there's a different way to see that, right? And one of the example definitions here is like, these mountains are a formidable barrier, or it was a formidable challenge or task. There's actually a positive side to that. And there are situations and people that I think you and I want to be very difficult to deal with. For example, bullies or punks, people who are crooked and they're trying to take advantage of you, trying to deceive you. I recently had an interaction. The guy was really trying to pull one over on me. And I can tell he was, I won't dive into it, but I could tell he does this often. And actually it's part of his career. He does it for a living, of trying to take advantage of people and trying to kind of, cause a big scene over on one side so you aren't really paying attention to what he's doing on the other side. And I want to be very difficult to deal with for that kind of guy and those kind of situations. And for the bullies and the predators and the people that are going around looking to take advantage of people and hurt people and just be malicious. I want to be very, very difficult for them to deal with. And it's true with, government or politicians, or think about in any work organization, managers who are tyrants, or business owners or executives who are bullies and dictators and, causing problems all the time. You want to be very difficult to deal with. So in a real sense, gentlemen, I think that can be a very good thing. You and I, if we're dangerous men, if we're formidable family men, we are difficult to deal with for those people who want to cause trouble. I want to be that guy. I want to be as formidable as those mountains are a barrier to them taking advantage of other people too, not just for myself, not just for my family, but for others. I want to step in and I want to defend and I want to protect, and I want to be a formidable barrier in between other people who are more vulnerable and those who would take advantage of them. I want people to think twice or more about trying to take advantage of someone or hurt somebody or do something that's wrong or inappropriate or unethical or immoral. I want to be that barrier. So that second one definition works for me as well. The third one is to be large or impressive in size or amount. Now, you could be formidable physically, right? And you don't necessarily, if you're 6'6" and 280, that's pretty formidable. That's awesome. But you can do it in fitness and health. I would submit here, gentlemen, that every one of us needs to have, formidable health, so to speak, formidable fitness. You ought to be in fantastic shape. And do not use your family as an excuse for that. Most of you, or many of you, know my story. We started traveling when we had 4 kids, and they were 4 and under. So we adopted our oldest and then had 3 kids, and then we realized, we love traveling as a family. We want to try this. And so we have 4 little kids. We're traveling all over the place. I had gym memberships and was working out regularly, but when we were traveling, there were either no gyms available or I couldn't get a membership because we were passing through. And so for a time I thought, man, I can't stay healthy and fit well because I have little kids. I'm so busy with marriage and kids and employment and owning businesses and traveling. I just can't do it. And I got out of shape But then I was like, no, this is unacceptable. It's just an excuse. And if we exercised a little more leverage mentally in our own mind, saying, well, wait a minute, what if something really serious was on the line? What if my life was on the line? Could I figure out a way to exercise and stay fit? Well, absolutely. What if millions of dollars were on the line? Could you figure out a way to stay healthy and fit with no equipment and only a short amount of time if millions of dollars were on the line? Like somebody's going to pay you $1 million if you used zero equipment and stayed in fantastic shape the whole year. Could you do it? Of course you could. And so it really comes down to excuses. And I want to challenge you to remove that, especially family. You don't have to get out of shape and overweight and lose any athleticism or any problems. Like, take care of your body. Your body is your vehicle for life. And so be fit. And so some of you can have some formidable fitness. You don't necessarily have to be huge and muscly, but you can be fit, and there's something to that, right? Whether it's running or swimming or endurance or weight or strength, whatever that is. But in size or amount, there's other ways to be impressive or large, to have a large vocabulary, a large intellect, a large understanding, right? That's the kind of stuff we should have. As I think about it, and I hope you too, and I hope you're thinking about it already, I hope you're taking notes if you can, or you do it later. Like, what are the things you would write down? What are the characteristics and attributes you write down? I would definitely include that we need to have a phenomenal education, a large and even an impressive education. There's no excuse with all that's available for us, gentlemen, to let off or quit an education. There's never a graduation from education. You should be learning every single day, every day. And with as many videos and audio programs, audio books, podcasts, trainings, courses, webinars, seminars, there's so much available. Some of the brightest minds ever are available to us, and you can have it in digital form where you can read it that way, or have it read to you, or you can take a book. We travel with books everywhere. It's so easy and cheap now to get access to great stuff. The only reason it's not happening is because we're cheating ourselves. There's no excuse why you can't spend a piece of time every day dedicated to your education and your mind and your understanding. Many of us are, if we spend any time reading or perusing things, we're just wasting time, or we're wasting resources. We're reading stuff that's not worth reading. We're listening to things that aren't worth listening to. So carve out some time. I would say if I had to throw something out here, it's going to be different for everybody. For some of you in your situation, it might be 10 minutes a day is all you can throw down. But if I could throw out an ideal, something we could shoot for, I would say a minimum of 60 minutes a day. Just spent really digging in, just studying education. And you can start with the great classics across all genres and fields, and definitely spend some time. Maybe if we're holding up an ideal here, it's an additional 60 minutes in your chosen field of study, the thing you're trying to master. And that's another thing where you can be very strong and impressive in your skill set, in the thing you are trying, your craft, right? That thing you're trying to own and lead in your field. What could you choose to do that would put you in the top 5 to 10% in your industry or field or area? Like, what is it you want to be absolutely phenomenal at? And speaking of that, you'll hear me say often, or maybe you already have, those of you who've been with me for a while, I love this idea, and it's so profound to me, and I keep getting reaffirmed in its truthfulness. In order to live an extraordinary life, and to be a great man and a formidable family man, you simply have to be great and become great at several things. You can't just do one or two things. You've got to figure out how to be great mentally and physically and spiritually, like mind, body, spirit. You've got to figure out how to be a great husband and lover to your wife, and father, mentor, coach, teacher. You got to figure out how to be a great businessman and provider and a protector, and how to be a leader and an influencer, right? You got to get all of that dialed in, and you got to learn how to get really great at creating income, managing expenses and managing your investments, right? Learning how to get money to work for you. And getting great at really living and living your ideal dream life, whatever that includes for you. I hope you have hobbies and dreams and goals and things you absolutely love to do that just make you feel alive and light you up. You have to be good at all of that. You can't just pick one thing and hope the rest of it works out. It just won't. And I think that's where we get into trouble. And honestly, you end up being a fraction of the man you could be because you don't put in the work and the effort and the intentionality, the focus to be really great at several things and being great at the right things. Some of you are really great at things that genuinely do not matter and do not add value to your life. So that's where we put in this work and effort. And again, that makes you formidable because you become large and impressive in size or amount across that whole spectrum. Man, I love this stuff. Okay, here's some other ones. Causing fear or dread or apprehension. This is from another dictionary. Again, that could be seen as negative, and we don't want it to be on the negative side. You don't want people to be afraid of you or dread you or apprehensive of you because you're angry all the time. You have a crazy temper, or because you're so unpleasant to be around, so hard to get along with that they don't trust you. Right? It's none of those things. In fact, I would say a truly formidable family man is a man of character and integrity and honesty. Like nobody's going to doubt his goodness, that he is a straight shooter, so to speak. And they can trust him. Even if they don't like him, they can trust him. And even if they don't like him, they respect him because of how he operates. So it's not fear and dread and apprehension in a negative way because, again, it's significant to me to really carefully consider if you are unpleasant to be around. That one stands out to me all the time. I bring it up in my coaching sessions when I'm working with men. I'm thinking about it all the time. Are you unpleasant to be around? Is there something that makes you repulsive to others? Do you have a bad attitude? Do you complain? Do you blame? Do you criticize? Do you whine and cry, throw pity parties? Are you rude? Are you just grumpy? Do you talk too much? Do you talk too little? Like whatever it is, right? A great man, a formidable family man, by best definition, is going to develop these skills to get along with people and be pleasant to be around. Now, who will he cause fear in or dread or apprehension? Bad guys. That's where you want to be. You want to be, because if you think about it, who do bullies and bad guys target? Sometimes we think it's just random. They just go out and they just randomly go after people. Occasionally, maybe. But for the most part, a bully or a bad guy, they're picking targets. And they're going to pick targets that they think they can beat. They're going to prey on people who they're pretty confident they can get away with it. So yeah, in that sense, I want to be the family man who is going to be a formidable opponent, and I cause fear, dread, and apprehension in a thief or a bully or some predator. Yeah, I want to be that guy. I want to cause fear and dread and apprehension in the wrong kind of people or people with the wrong kind of intentions. And I don't want to be that iconic family man. They're like, I'll take this punk because he's not going to defend himself or his family. He can't and he won't because he's a coward. And he's let his life get to shambles. And so they take advantage of people like that. And so I want to be the kind of guy they look at me and they're going to think twice about it. They're going to actually fear and dread me. And I'm going to be able to step in and help the other guys that they can't or won't defend themselves. All right, here's another one. Having qualities that discourage approach or attack. Yeah. Again, there's the negative piece there. I don't want to beat this too much. You could see that negative side, like you don't want to have the qualities that discourage approach. Like no one wants to approach you because they're so intimidated by you, afraid of you, or don't want to be around you or near you or anything. You want to be an approachable person, but you want to discourage approach or attack. There's that piece right there, right? Having qualities that discourage attack. Yeah, that's the man I want to be. That I have qualities that are obvious that discourage attack. And within moments of people seeing you or interacting with you, they need to know that you are someone that cannot be messed with, that not be taken advantage of. And it's not that you're rude or mean or you walk up and you're like, hey, nice to meet you, don't mess with me, right? You don't have to tell people. It just comes out in who you are. You have those qualities. That's the formidable family man that I'm talking about. Oh, I love that one. Here's another one. Tending to inspire awe or wonder. Tending to inspire awe or wonder. And I think that perhaps is probably my favorite working definition, that you become a man who, through his priorities, his actions, his philosophies, his behaviors and attitudes, his words, his habits, his results. Key in on that one. Your results make you a person, a man who inspires awe or wonder. And so I ask, as I ask myself, I ask you, are you doing that? Or are you at least becoming that? Are you consciously and consistently cultivating the skills, the mindset, the heart set, the skill set to do that and to be that? And so take an inventory on your life and this working definition of what it means to be a man and a formidable family man. Take a look at your body. Is it where you want it to be? Take a look at your marriage. Is that where you want it to be? Your mind, your spirit, your family, each of your children. And no longer, gentlemen, will you use any of those things as an excuse. Yeah, you might have some disadvantages. You might have some handicaps. But who's to say that's not an advantage? It's not a privilege. That those obstacles are actually opportunities. How are your finances? How's every part of your life? And the coolest part here is it doesn't matter like where you're currently at or where you're facing or where you've been, because what you've been doing in the past has led you to where you are. And you can change direction right now. You can resolve and commit with real determination and grit. That was a little poetic line right there, right? Some rhyming. You can commit with real determination and grit to change directions, to change your course, to be that man. And you can take any condition of your life and every condition and start moving them towards the target. But if you never clearly identify and articulate your target to yourself and to those around you, you can't hit it. You can't move towards it. You'll be stuck in this limbo, this going and going, but never actually going anywhere. And you'll be trapped there. And you'll feel it. And it'll be evident to you and to the people around you. And you won't be formidable. And you won't inspire awe or wonder. And you won't deserve the serious attention and respect that you could. Become that man. Get in a place and get yourself into a place. Earn it. Create it. Like carve it out. Forge it, gentlemen. Formidable men are forged. And yes, that takes some fire and some pounding, neither of which is very pleasant. But choose to do it anyways. I did not feel like taking a cold shower today. You know what I do when I don't feel like doing something? I do it. Because movement creates motivation and momentum. And so I do it anyways. And once you get going, you're like, man, I feel fantastic. I never regret taking a cold shower. And I rarely want to. It's the same with, working out, going to the gym, going to Krav Maga, going through the training, doing the hard work, getting on that phone call or having that tough conversation. You don't want to do it, but just do it. Get after it. Make it happen. Care, gentlemen, care. Care about your family. Care about family in general. Be a defender of family and of faith. Care about the world. Care about people. Care about life. Fight back against the growing plague of indifference and apathy and nihilism. And I get it. I get how discouraging it can be, how frustrating and disappointing people can be. But be optimistic anyways. Be positive anyways. Care anyways. And when you care and people take advantage of you or it doesn't turn out like you hoped, keep caring anyways. Be that man and lean into it. And identify who it is you would be as your very best self. I had an awesome conversation yesterday with a good friend and a coaching client who's facing some tremendous difficulties. And I just come back to the question always of how would your best self handle that? If you could see in your mind's eye your best self as a formidable family man, what does he look like? What does he say? What does he do? How is he different from who you currently are? It might even come down to something about the way you dress, the way you carry yourself, your posture, your mannerisms. It's definitely going to come down to your habits and attitudes and your routines and rituals. I promise that guy doesn't waste time, because wasting time is wasting life and leaving potential on the table. So let's lean in, fellas. Let's lean in and get a clear vision. So spend some time writing about this, and again, please connect with me on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, on YouTube here. Leave comments. Let's get this conversation going and keep it going, and jump in with us in the Be the Man Masterclass and Tribe, where we have this community of great men and tools and training and resources and team to become our very best self. That's literally why I created the Masterclass and the Tribe, so we'd have a community of men that together can get into all the resources and tools to become that man, to become your very best self. Now, that doesn't mean we're all going to turn out and be exactly the same, right? We're going to be vastly different, but there will be common denominators, and we will be able to trust each other and work with each other and understand each other. In fact, we're going to be able to disagree with each other without being disagreeable, and to be the man you know you can be. So write it down, create a plan, get after it, work on it, and let me know how I can help. Connect, subscribe here, share. Will you share this? Share these videos, share this podcast. Get involved in this movement, become an evangelist for family and for a pure manliness and the good kind of masculinity that we all need, just like we need the good kind of femininity. So share this and subscribe to the channels and get involved and be a part of this, and let's do this together. Let's get out and make it happen. Be the man.